Food packaging is more than a container. It protects the product, supports compliance, and helps ensure that the food reaching consumers is safe. But food packaging compliance does not begin and end with the pack itself. Each component of the package must be supported by a Declaration of Compliance, or DoC.
The DoC confirms that the packaging is food contact safe.
Exactly. Legally compliant food packaging generally requires a separate Declaration of Compliance to be produced by all suppliers in the supply chain. It confirms that the packaging will not leach harmful chemicals or alter the taste or smell of the food, because nobody wants a meal with a surprise note of plastic, ink, or hazardous substances.
So the DoC is not just paperwork, it is the first course of compliance. And if the first course is missing, the rest of the meal gets risky.
A standard Declaration of Compliance usually includes supplier details, food characteristics, and assurance that the relevant regulatory standards for each country are met. In addition, it must address conditions of use and storage, as well as migration test results for hazardous chemicals used in the production of plastics suitable for food contact. These migration test results are especially important because they show whether the transfer of chemicals from packaging into food remains within safe and legal limits.
So the DoC is basically the packaging's full recipe card. Who made it, what it is, where it can be used, how it should be stored, and whether anything unwanted can migrate into the food.
Correct. Chemwatch supports the reporting and compliance requirements of each element of the declaration. But Chemwatch does not stop at the DoC. That is only where the story begins.
Exactly, because food packaging compliance is not a snack, it is a full tasting menu.
Chemwatch focuses on supporting the Declaration of Compliance, but the solution does not stop there. Importantly, the Chemwatch solution addresses the 5 principles of container packaging, including product promotion and shelf placement throughout the supply chain.
So Chemwatch is not only checking whether the packaging is safe for food contact, it also helps support the wider packaging journey, from compliance to how the product is presented and placed, because packaging has to protect the food, support the brand, and behave itself in front of the regulators.
Exactly. The goal is not just packaging that looks good on the shelf. The goal is packaging that is supported by the right compliance information from the supply chain.
Now let's talk about plastics. Generally, compliant food packaging plastics are identified by 7 resin identification codes, or RIC codes.
Each plastic type has undergone testing to identify hazardous substances used in its production, and to help ensure those substances do not migrate into food above certain levels, or at unsafe rates under normal conditions of use.
So, packaging plastics may look calm on the shelf, but behind the scenes, they have already been through a compliance workout.
Food packaging is rarely produced by just one company. The supply chain may include suppliers for polymers, inks, adhesives, coatings, labels, layers, and finished packaging. Each actor may hold different information, SDS, test results, and experimental values.
In other words, the kitchen gets crowded very quickly, and when every supplier brings their own Declaration of Compliance, the compliance bench can get messy.
Chemwatch identifies relevant limit values, so each actor in the packaging supply chain can review their own experimental values for compliance. This helps ensure that measured values or final levels are not exceeded at any point in the supply chain.
No guessing, no, I thought someone else checked it, no compliance served medium rare.
Exactly. Every actor can understand their part of the compliance recipe.
So how does Chemwatch make all this easier?
When users open the Chemwatch Food Contact Substances application, they are presented with a simplified interface. This interface identifies the key parameters that need to be addressed to support compliant food packaging. These are organized through a series of drop-down menus.
So instead of drowning in forms, folders, and mystery spreadsheets, users get a cleaner path through the process. Very organized, very tidy, and as the French might put it, mise en place for compliance.
The drop-down menus identify the materials, including plastics, used in the construction of the package, supplier contact details, contaminating substances of concern, allowable final concentration levels, migration limits, and the need for SDS for various components, including polymers, inks, and adhesives. These migration limits can be compared against supplier experimental values for each region in which the food is distributed. The drop-down menus can also characterize the nature of the food, including its potential to absorb hazardous substances and its retail shelf grouping requirements.
So the interface helps guide the user from ingredient to inspection, from supplier to substance, from packaging to proof. That is a much better recipe.
Substances of concern are identified in supporting SDS. By law, SDS are required when any component in a product is classified as a GHS hazard. That means if a packaging component contains a hazardous substance, the SDS becomes an important part of the compliance picture.
So the SDS is not just a document. It is the ingredient list for chemical safety, and nobody wants to discover the mystery ingredient after dessert.
Chemwatch has the world's largest central SDS repository with over 150 million SDS documents. Where an SDS is available, Chemwatch can help identify the hazardous substances in it. Where an SDS is not available, Chemwatch can acquire it without additional charge. Chemwatch can also return a consolidated bill of materials health check to each supply chain actor and food packaging producer. This helps identify hazardous substances, substances of concern, and potential compliance risks across the packaging supply chain.
So instead of scattered SDS and duplicate substances, companies get one clearer compliance story. Less kitchen chaos, more confidence on the plate. Now let's talk migration limits. This is where things can get very serious.
Migration limits exist to help ensure substances do not transfer from packaging into food above safe and legal levels during normal use. Chemwatch identifies these limit values and helps compare them with supplier-provided experimental values.
So each actor in the supply chain can check whether their part of the packaging passes the test. That is important because close enough may work for seasoning. It does not work for food contact compliance.
Correct. If measured values or final levels exceed the prescribed limit, Chemwatch can help flag the issue. This supports earlier detection of compliance risks before they become larger supply chain problems.
Because nobody wants the packaging to become the secret ingredient. That is one special of the day we do not want to serve.
Food packaging compliance also depends on where the product is sold. Different countries and regions can have different food contact regulations, local requirements, and labeling expectations.
So one label is not necessarily globally compliant, nor is it supporting SDS. This is not a one-sauce-fits-every-dish situation.
Chemwatch solutions produce compliant versions of both compliant labels and supporting SDS. Chemwatch can help organize target regions and local regulatory requirements through the food contact workflow. As part of the service, compliant product retail labels can be created for each food product with an emphasis on regional or local regulation.
Compliant product retail labels contain many elements unique to food. Chemwatch automatically generates such labels as part of its standard offering, with an emphasis on regional and local regulation.
That means the label is not just dressed nicely for the shelf. It is supported by the right compliance information.
Stylish, sensible, and compliant. A rare combination. Food packaging compliance can feel like cooking a 7-course meal while someone keeps changing the recipe.
That is why Chemwatch provides around-the-clock local support from food regulatory experts. Because sometimes you need more than software. You need people who understand the regulation, the chemistry, and the pressure of getting it right.
So do not leave packaging compliance half-baked.
Chemwatch ensures food packaging producers produce and manage globally compliant declarations of compliance, food retail labels, various SDSs, substances of concern, and their migration checks and regional requirements.
Scan the QR code and get in touch with a Chemwatch representative.
Because safe packaging should protect the meal, not become the secret ingredient.